Quick round of applause for friends from France.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing good. First of all, thanks a lot for WSC for inviting me and for the opportunity of sharing you this presentation. So basically, the intent of the presentation is to show you the new era that we started at LFP regarding Ligue 1 and Ligue 2. And basically, I think the idea is, I don't know if you follow the news, but we faced many challenges last summer, and we started a new era in all kind of aspects, being on the branding guidelines, on the content production, and so on. So basically, with this presentation, I will try to show you a bit what strategy we chose on the brand identity and on the content production, and how we are trying to address our different broadcasters and our fans internationally. So as I was saying, last summer was a big one for us. We had many things that were ending and new things that were starting. So basically a new media cycle, domestically and internationally. So it means you need to renew all the contracts with domestic and international broadcasters. So a very busy summer. Also, one of the big parts, and you can see it through the new colors, the new fonts on the presentation, we had a big rebranding phase where we basically changed everything from the colors to the fonts to the trophy to the logo, even to the motto, which was previously Ligue 1, the League of Talents, and which is now Ligue 1 Football, but French. So it was a big thing, trying to convey a different message, trying to be more bold and to assume like the French connection that we have all around the world. And also a big part, also as it comes to WSC, the new content strategy. Previously, the content production side was delegated to an agency, to beIN Sports. It was the case between 2012 and 2024. So basically, we had to internalize everything. So it means a lot of changes in the way we are producing content, distributing content to the broadcasters and to the fans. So why we did this? I think there was a strong will to change, to differentiate ourselves to all the offers that we have in terms of football, in terms of sports, but in terms of entertainment more globally. And yeah, trying to be a bit more fresh, a bit more modern in the way we approach our football content. So Ligue 1, as it exists today, is a global product. It's not just the Farmers League in France, but it's a product that's distributed all around the world. So you have basically, we have more than 40 broadcasters. We cover more than 200 territories. And there are like 2 billion people all around the world that have access to Ligue 1 content. So when you have this network of broadcasters, some of those are new, some of those are historic ones. There is a big question on how you address those broadcasters with a product that's not Champions League, so not everybody will try to watch it. So you need to be smart about it, smart in the way you're presenting it, and try to find an approach that's more, I would say, customed for the fans and for the broadcasters. So the new strategy around content distribution, as I was saying, we internalized all the production of the content, so it means we are now responsible for it. So I think it's split into three big parts. The first part, I will just mention it, but it's not related to WSC or to the direct content creation. It's the new weekly shows that we produce. So basically trying to put some storytelling, not just on the weekends with the game, but also like on Tuesday evening, Thursday evening, and on the weekend. So with new shows that are trying to approach the Ligue 1 with a different angle. We have typically our Ligue 1 show, which is trying to put a bit of, I would say, lifestyle in the content. So we have, I don't know, like international fans coming to France, having some gourmet restaurant, and then attending to the game. But the two last parts are the most important one for today's session, because it's around short content creation that we do with WSC, our new partner since the beginning of last summer. And the archive content, which is also a big part. I was mentioning how to put the storytelling between two match rounds, and the archive part is a big one. So what were the objectives with the content strategy? The first thing was to align the content production with the new branding guidelines. Basically, if you change the identity just for the colors and the logos, but then would you produce content the same way, it's not worth it. So we're trying to embrace like the French flair, the French culture. One good example is when in the Ligue 1 show, we have like a small introduction video, and you can see like an international fan saying Ligue 1, and then someone is saying, no, Ligue 1, because that's our identity and that's the way it's spelled, it's pronounced in French. The second part is how you deliver specific assets to our international broadcasters. So basically, as I told you, we have more than 40 broadcasters, so we don't have a custom approach for each and every one of them, but trying to be more creative, trying to engage with them a bit more so that they can see a direct connection with the French league and their fans. And the last one, I discussed this a bit, but it's to create real value for the broadcasters all around the world, and you can see that in the way we're distributing the content to them. So WSC, the reason also why I'm here today is because WSC is playing a key role in this new strategy and is really helping us in telling the story about Ligue 1 today, but also in the future. So to dive a bit into the details of content production, what we produce us as a league around our league. So you can see like the must-haves, the match highlights that we produce on every weekend, the top contents like compilation of best skills, top goals, top saves. Those content like are really liked on social media, and it is a way of catch-upping the content if you couldn't follow it on the weekend. But the two on the right, I think, are really interesting. The first one is the highlight by country. So basically, we have dedicated folders where, depending on the players that are scoring or making like an assist or having a good play, it's automatically populated into a specific folder. And then if you're, I don't know, like the Scandinavian broadcaster via Play, or if you're the Japanese broadcaster, Days on Japan, you can directly find the content in the folder. For example, Japan, we have 3 Japanese players in the league. Like it's a new growing country for us, so it's good for them to have specific content in the folder. And the part on the bottom right, the archive, I think it's a very important way of storytell the Ligue 1, not only because like it's part of our history and we have to be proud about it, but also because some of the best players in history have started in Ligue 1. I can mention Ronaldinho, Zidane, Benzema, Hazard, all those players that ended up being Ballon d'Or winners in other countries started in Ligue 1. So I think that's important to showcase that in the content creation. Now that we have discussed how we produce the content, I think the most important thing is how we distribute it. And basically, we distribute it on the multi-channel approach, where we have different platforms for different needs and different fans. The key platform in our content distribution strategy for broadcaster is our broadcast hub. So it's basically a portal where all the broadcasters have access to, and where they can find all different type of content. Some content I like directly populated from WSC without any editors. It's the case of what we call like the incomplete highlights, meaning it's just like an automatic crop of a game that broadcaster can find right after the game, meaning if I want to do a show right after a PSG game and I want some images to populate the show, I can find them like right after the game, but also some clips that are edited by our editors on the platform. It's the case, for example, for the match highlights that are built using WSC AI, but then fine-tuned by editors. The second part is obviously our YouTube channel. There has been some major changes in the way we approach our channel. Previously, we had like a French channel and an English channel with obviously different languages in it. Now we try to centralize everything with the multi-audio tracks that can be handled directly on the platform. And on this platform, obviously, you don't have all WSC content and not only WSC content. You have also like some documentaries, some like short clips where we try to tell different stories, typically around data, how we can help fans to understand how to watch a game. There was a lot of episodes around the series, around that data, when we were trying to tell the fans that when you watch a game, you shouldn't watch only the players that has the ball, and that sometimes, like the players around it, it's even more important to understand the game. So that's how we structure it on YouTube. Then we have also some content that is on the social media feed. So it's another platform that we have. It's more for the international broadcaster for like vertical content. And basically on this platform, whenever someone is scoring a goal, it's populated onto the platform. And in a similar approach to the approach by country, if I don't know, like Kang In Lee from PSG is scoring a goal, like the second after it's on the platform, vertical, and the broadcaster in Korea can put it on their socials. And last but not least, the Ligue 1 apps. Basically, we have different Ligue 1 applications, the Ligue 1 main app. We also have a fantasy app, Mon Petit Gazon, a very French name, but that is very popular in France. And WSC Engine is populating those two apps, both on the, I would say, common content strategy, but also in the in-app stories that was presented before. So it's a good way of, typically, I'm in the fantasy, I have a player that scored, I have directly the goal of the player on the platform. So now that we saw what we do today, the question is what we are going to do in the future. One of the strengths, and I think it was mentioned before, but of the WSC solution is not only what they offer today, but also like the constant will of improving the platform and proposing new features to the broadcasters. So I think those are two examples, I think, that show what can be done, I would say, one step more in our strategy. On the left, you have a cool Neymar TikTok edit that was built by our social media team using the Gen AI capabilities that were presented at the beginning. Basically, so you have Neymar dribbling and then the images switch on and off with the manga overlay. So we had some very good numbers on TikTok with it. As I was mentioning, the Ronaldinho Best of PSG was the top performing content last month on YouTube with very good figures. And this is something that we will be continuing more and more. And on top of that, we will continue using new features on WSC, not just on the content production, but also on the distribution. And one thing that we are currently discussing is how to address the clubs. Because currently, in the whole architecture that I presented you, you see the league, you see the broadcasters, but the clubs are, for the moment, not directly involved. And I think the step further would be how to have like a full end-to-end strategy from the clubs with the players, the league with the game, and the broadcasters with the images. So that's it for me. And if you have any questions, feel free.
Let's see. All right. So before we open it up for questions from everybody, I'll take advantage of being with the mic and I'll steal some questions first. Maybe I think specifically for clubs and leagues that are sitting here in the crowd and maybe people that will watch afterwards, you touched on it at the end, between the relationship between the league and the clubs. Let me drill down on that specifically regarding rights. What would be the role, for example, of securing, or if it's possible to secure rights for the clubs, and maybe what is the opportunity with that? And also, I guess, kind of what are you trying to achieve via the clubs?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And so I would say the easy answer is that like we have a lot of roles in terms of the rights. So basically, us as a league, and same for the clubs, on the weekend we cannot post the goals and the images of the game directly on the socials because like it's an exclusivity of the broadcaster. But that being said, we see some shifts in the model where we're trying, like, not on the weekend to push more content on our socials, but also on the clubs. We're trying to collaborate with them more and more, typically on having, some shared Instagram posts where we push us and them at the same time. But also, since I was mentioning the roles, I think it's going to evolve. All those roles were in the standard tender that we experienced for the past years. We see the situation, and if you follow the news, that LFP is facing with the domestic broadcaster and so on. So I think, not today, but in the coming years, we might be more flexible. We might carve out some of those rights to offer it to the clubs, to the league directly. And I think we will be more in charge of the storytelling of the games.
I want to follow up on that. Like, in the previous panels that we had, one of the topics that's coming up here, and I think this is a hot topic, especially here in Greece, is sharing the content. Okay, let's say this castle mentality where I am a rights holder, I'm procuring the rights for a lot of money, I'm going to utilize all of that content only on my own and operated, but slowly we're putting it on social media, slowly we're sharing it with more partners. Do you also see where, in your opinion, is it to the advantage of the entire ecosystem to have clubs with content and broadcasters and other third parties and the league? Is this the direction you're talking about?
Yeah, I think like the mentality is changing a bit. Previously, the value was in the exclusivity. That's the reason why broadcasters wanted to be the only one that could push content on the weekend, because that's the value they had. We see, like, in the tendency where the broadcast deal are like staggering or being decreased. I think we need to rethink a bit the model, and I think a more collaborative approach where the clubs, the leagues, and the broadcaster are heading in the same direction would be a more suitable model in the next year. I'm saying that it seems very easy, but it's not. It's like a whole model to rethink. But typically, and since there are discussions for us as a league domestically to maybe launch our own channel, nothing decided yet, but it's in the newspaper. I think if you were to make that gap, you would have to have a more end-to-end approach with all the stakeholders, meaning the players, the clubs, and the broadcasters.
Great. I think one additional topic that I'd like to ask you, many of the people in the room are in advanced stages or in beginning stages of mobile apps.
Yeah.
You guys did a big revamp of the mobile app. Maybe you can share a little bit about what is the challenges, maybe share some advice.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mixed situation because everybody wants to have its own app, but at the same time, like, the users are being a bit fed up with downloading, like, one app for the fantasy, one app for the video, one app for the quizzes and so on. So it's a balance that's not easy to find. But I think one important thing, in my opinion, would be how your app is bringing value to the user, not just as one more app on my phone. Typically, I think the strategy that we achieved with our app that is centralizing the videos, like the stats, all the official information, and on top of that, you have the fantasy that you can integrate also with the single sign-on. I think that's one way of showing the value, and I think the step further for us would be to bring value to having the whole ecosystem, meaning, some loyalty program where you can have some points. If we launch our own channel, maybe you could use some credits that you have on the app to buy the game. So I think that's more the step for maybe in 5 years, but to show the users that it's better to have the app than scrolling on TikTok to find the same images.
Cool. So before we open it up for questions, if there are any, final thought, PSG or Inter, who wins the Champions League this year?
So great question. I'm actually a Barca fan, so my honest opinion, and I'm terrible at predictions, but I would say PSG, because like the way they're playing, the fact that they don't have one star player compared to the previous years, I think is really impressive. But honestly, after facing Inter 2 games in the semi-final, you cannot be sure.
Absolutely. All right, I'll open it up if anybody wants to ask a question. No? All right, Cyprien, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.